For decades, the story of Princess Diana's death, it's been buried under just a mountain of speculation, right? All these conspiracies. But what if we just pushed all that noise aside? What is the official record, the actual documents, the verdicts? What do they really say? Well, that's what we're going to dig into. I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It's the one that's been hanging in the air since that awful night back in 1997. So to get to the bottom of it, we're not going to go down the usual rabbit holes. No tabloids, no wild theories. We're going straight to the source, straight to the evidence. And for us, that means we're zeroing in on two really specific things. First, we've got these declassified FBI files. And second, there's the final definitive inquest verdict from 2008. And what's so fascinating is how they tell two totally different stories. One about the very real, very managed threats she faced while she was alive, and the other about the just chaotic, tragic way she died. Okay, so let's start with her life. We're diving into these secret FBI files. And what they show is, right from the very beginning of her time as a royal, Diana was seen by security agencies as a major target. And look, this wasn't just some vague worry or speculation. This was real. It was documented. You can see right here in the files, the FBI was actively tracking potential dangers to her, specifically on U.S. soil. This wasn't them being paranoid. This was just standard operating procedure when you're dealing with someone that famous. I mean, check this out. We're talking as early as 1981, the year she got married, and there's already a specific, credible threat being logged, a plot to send a mail bomb to her and Prince Charles. This single document kind of sets the stage, right? It shows this baseline of real, calculated danger that was basically going to be a part of her life from then on. And of course, as she became more and more famous around the world, the security situation got even more intense. We're not talking about abstract what-ifs anymore. Every trip she took, every public appearance required this incredibly detailed, concrete planning. And you can see just how seriously they took it by the classifications on the documents themselves. Take her 1989 visit to New York. The FBI's internal memo about it, it's stamped secret. That tells you everything, doesn't it? This wasn't just a routine heads up. This was a full-blown, high-level security operation. And the level of detail they went into, it's kind of staggering. They had her entire itinerary tracked, literally from the moment she landed at JFK. They were monitoring planned demonstrations, specifically by this group, NORAD. They were alerting their Irish terrorism sources to be on the lookout for any planned violence. They even set up a command post right there in her hotel in room 1601. I mean, think about that. Her life was lived in this bubble of managed risk where every possible threat was thought of and planned for. Okay, so that's the story of her life, right? All this meticulous planning. But the official story of her death, it couldn't be more different. It's like we're flipping a switch from total control to absolute unmanaged chaos. And it took a long, long time to get there. 11 years. Think about that. 11 years of investigations, of wild speculation, of intense legal fights, just to get to a final official answer about what actually happened in that tunnel. And that final investigation, the official inquest, it was a huge deal. Just to be clear, an inquest isn't a criminal trial. It's all about finding the facts of how someone died. And this one was massive. It went on for 6 months. They heard from 278 different witnesses. And it cost £6.5 million. So whatever you think of the result, this was not a rush job. It was one of the most thorough legal investigations in modern British history, for sure. So after all that, after hearing all that evidence, what did the jury decide? Well, they came back with their verdict. They called it an unlawful killing. And they said it was caused by the grossly negligent driving of two parties, their own driver, Henri Paul, and the paparazzi who were chasing them. And that was the key thing, really. The jury didn't just point a finger at one single thing. They laid out this whole chain reaction of fatal mistakes. You had the speed of their car, the reckless way the paparazzi were driving, the fact that their driver's judgment was impaired by alcohol, and then the simple, heartbreaking detail that Diana and Dodi weren't wearing seatbelts. It was just a total perfect storm of human error. But here's the thing. Even with a verdict that seemed so definitive, the controversy didn't just go away. Not at all. The reaction was instant, and it was completely split, really cementing the two sides of the story that we still hear today. So on one side, you had Prince William and Prince Harry. They released a statement saying they agreed with the jury's decision, they accepted it. But on the complete opposite side, you had Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed. He absolutely rejected the verdict. He was and remained completely convinced that they were murdered in a giant conspiracy. And his words as he was leaving the court that day were so blunt, so powerful. He just said, "The most important thing is its murder." And that one sentence, it just poured gasoline on all the conspiracy theories that the inquest was supposed to put to bed. For him, and for a lot of people, the verdict wasn't the end of the story. It was just more evidence of the cover-up. All right, so let's pull back and look at the big picture here. We have these two official records, one telling the story of her life, and the other the story of her death. So, what's the ultimate story that the official record tells us? When you really filter out all the noise, all the speculation, and just look at the FBI files and the court's verdict, what's the picture you're left with? Well, what you get is this incredible, almost unbelievable contrast. On one hand, the FBI files show a life filled with these very real, very calculated threats that were handled with surgical precision by security forces. But then, the inquest shows a death that wasn't caused by some mastermind plot, but by something so much more simple. A chaotic, tragic mess of human errors. A drunk driver, a reckless chase, and an unbuckled seatbelt. And really, that's the final unsettling idea the official story leaves you with. It's this gap between the complex, managed threats she faced every day and the simple, devastating power of chance. The record suggests that in the end, it wasn't some shadowy enemy that got her. It was a random, senseless accident. And it makes you wonder, what's scarier? The threat you can see and plan for, or the one that comes out of nowhere?